Titanfall 3 has been one of the most requested games in the entire world for years now, and it seemingly hasn't paid off to any degree. Every year, tons of new leaks come out about Titanfall 3, and it seems like Respawn Entertainment hides little teasers in Apex Legends, but nothing ever turns into a formal announcement or confirmation that the studio is ever going back to their roots and finish the trilogy. Despite being two extremely praised FPS games, neither Titanfall 1 or 2 managed to break through EA's sales expectations, and after Apex Legends exploded, it seemed like the publisher had no interest in trying a third time. But as of recent, there's been a surprising amount of Titanfall 3 leaks that have started to trickle out across the internet. We've had Apex Legends leakers who have said that the game is coming out next year. We've had Jeff Grubb who says the contrary. So what's up with Titanfall 3? Did it leak? We're going to talk about everything you guys may have missed. So check the video chapters for easy viewing and let me know in the comments if you're buying into the Titanfall 3 copium. Are you taking your pills? Let's get into it. So in case you didn't know, just as a little background, some Respawn devs have actually confirmed that there was a third Titanfall game in development at one point, but it was canceled and reworked into Apex Legends after Titanfall 2 financially underperformed. Thanks again, EA, for that one. From what I could gather from interviews, Titanfall 3 was being worked on by a small team within Respawn after Titanfall 2 was finished, but it never made it into full production. Now, this is a common practice in the industry with franchise-based games. Once a game finishes development, a smaller team within the studio will start working on ideas and outlines for the next game before it's officially greenlit by the publishers. So even though the game was technically in development at one point, that doesn't mean it was ever actually guaranteed to be finished. Think of it more like a prototype or a blueprint for Titanfall 3 as opposed to a full development roadmap. Now, it's also worth noting that even though Titanfall 3 technically existed following Titanfall 2, it actually wasn't EA's decision to change course. According to these same Respawn developers who confirmed it existed, the game was turned into Apex Legends after Respawn saw the rise of Battle Royale games and felt the desire to do something different following the financial disappointment of Titanfall 2. Because even though Respawn's identity is tied to Titanfall, it's understandable that they would have gotten a little discouraged after Titanfall 2 underperformed, and they would want to do something new. So apparently, even though Titanfall 3 was in development at one point, it was never EA's decision to greenlight it, nor was it their decision to shut it down. Respawn started working on a third Titanfall game out of assets of Titanfall 2, but decided to change course and do something totally different before EA signed off on full funding, which is how we got Apex Legends instead. This brings us to our first leak, and that is coming from Valdator, who is a Apex Legends leaker, and they went on Twitter and claimed that Titanfall 3 is almost complete, and then they provided this information. They said more info on Titanfall 3, Unreal Engine 5 will be the engine, the game is almost complete, it will feature a single player campaign, live service with battle passes, the main mode will be an extraction shooter, and it will feature other modes like Team Deathmatch, Control, Arenas, and all Titanfall 2 classic modes. There will be some returning Apex characters, and it will have a weather system as well. Now, we have some comments from Jeff Grubb that I'd like to talk about where he said the contrary, so we'll talk about that in just a bit, but let's get to the next batch of leaks. Now, the next bit of Titanfall leaks and rumors started circulating in early April when a leaker known as Yoritsuki tweeted out that they had actually gotten word about a third Titanfall game back in December of 2024, but they didn't say anything about it because they wanted to verify that the information was legitimate. However, they are now completely confident that Titanfall 3 is real and it's in development, and they're actually expecting it to be revealed at the 2025 Game Awards with a 2026 release date attached to it. Now, if you're doubting this leaker's legitimacy, their track record is actually very good with Respawn Entertainment projects, as they previously leaked various Apex Legends related things, including the massive heirloom overhaul that happened a while back. So they definitely have some kind of inside source at Respawn, and that alone makes me more inclined to believe this rumor over some of the other rumors as well. Now, Valdator also corroborated this leak as well. So yeah, it's just very interesting. It could be that both sources are the same people. However, it could be from various different sources. We're not exactly sure. So yeah, we have two Apex Legends leakers who have said that the next game is in development, and since Respawn Entertainment has a very quick turnaround time on their sequels, I wouldn't expect the game to be in development for very long. So if the reports are true, then I could see it being announced during the Game Awards this year and then drop next year. However, it's hard saying. Obviously, EA has been pretty skittish about funding a third Titanfall game because otherwise it would have happened a long time ago. Titanfall 2 came out all the way back in 2016, meaning it's been almost 9 years since it came out. Despite the disappointing sales numbers thanks to EA and their releasing of Battlefield and Titanfall during the same time period, Titanfall 2 is often called one of the best FPS games of all time thanks to its fantastic and replayable single-player campaign and its incredibly deep and addicting multiplayer mode. But if you're you're in EA's position, I can at least understand why they wouldn't have signed off on a third game by now, because both of the two games were financial disappointments despite their critical praise. It's also worth noting that Apex Legends, the Titanfall spin-off, has been infinitely more profitable and financially dependable than the Titanfall games ever were. So I can understand why they would want to keep that game going as opposed to funding a fully fledged Titanfall 3. Also, just so we're very clear, I'm not trying to sound like an EA defender because I criticize them quite a bit. Heck, I played Battlefield 2042 for the better part of 8 months waiting for content. Listen, EA is not my friend right now. And as much as 2042 burned me, Battlefield 6 is looking really good as well. Hopefully Vince Zampella can cook with that game. But like, if you look at the Titanfall situation from their perspective, I think it's understandable why Titanfall 3 hasn't happened yet. So this brings us to our next bit of news, and this is coming from Jeff Grubb, who commented on all of the leaks and rumors regarding Titanfall 3. In the latest episode of the Game Breaking News, Jeff Grubb has said that all of the claims by the leakers Osvaldator are not real. He said, and I quote, "This is not real. I'm sorry, it's not real." Jeff Grubb then went on to say that there's probably a team that is smaller that is working on a game that has Titans in them. He then said that, does the Titanfall 1 director Steve Fukuda have something like a prototype that has Titans in it? I would guess so. I don't know for sure, but I would certainly assume that this is a safe thing to think. Now, is that prototype game with Titans in it going to get announced in 2025 and released in 2026? No way. He then spoke about the fact that EA has been on a trend of canceling various games. The cancellations include Titanfall Legends, which was the previous version of Titanfall 3. And then he spoke on one of the Osvaldator leaks about Unreal Engine 5, and he said, do not expect an Unreal Engine 5 single player campaign of Titanfall 3 with a full multiplayer suite. And then the last thing that he said about the project, he said, I'm not sure where this is coming from. Don't get your hopes up for Titanfall anytime soon. So yes, once again, when we have something that we can look forward to and have hope, we immediately get shut down, which honestly, I kind of prefer that. Getting the band-aid ripped off is much better than, you know, having any hope at all. Now, with all of that being said, there has been a bit of confusing information going around about Respawn Entertainment over the last few years, especially pertaining to the possibility of a third Titanfall game. Now, for the longest time, the studio was working on an FPS game set in the Star Wars universe, but that project was officially shut down before it was even given a title. They were also confirmed to be working on some kind of Star Wars strategy game, which that game, we actually got some leaks and screenshots of it. It's like a turn-based game from BitReactor alongside the help of Respawn Entertainment. Now, we still don't know what that Star Wars strategy game is titled or when it's coming out. Now, we do know that Respawn is working on a conclusion to their Jedi trilogy, but Stig Asmussen will not be a part of that project since he has left EA. And honestly, with how buggy Jedi Survivor was at launch, that game is presumably going to take a lot longer in the oven. Like, even though I enjoyed Jedi Survivor, it was really buggy. Like, the performance was not good at all. All the while, Apex Legends is still in a bit of a rough place and has been bleeding players for months. And all of this seems to suggest that Respawn Entertainment is spread a bit thin and might not be able to work on a new fully fledged Titanfall game, especially since EA recently moved Vince Zampella over to Battlefield, suggesting that Respawn is going to be under new leadership in the near future. It's like, as much as I love the fact that Vince is working on Battlefield, seeing Titanfall 3 not come to fruition because he's busy with something else is a bit unfortunate. However, all of this disregards the simple fact that EA wants to make as much money as possible, and one of the best ways to do that in the current gaming market is by dethroning Call of Duty. Activision's FPS franchise is extremely vulnerable right now due to the split opinions on BO6 and the dwindling interest in Warzone. Battlefield seems teed up for a solid comeback, but with how much demand there's been for a third Titanfall game, it seems like EA might fully be committing to taking down their old FPS rival. Like I said before, it wouldn't take that long for Titanfall 3 to make its way through development, and Activision is still struggling to keep people's attention on COD. If EA gets both Titanfall and Battlefield on the market as soon as possible, they may actually be able to take the top spot for the first time in a long time. Like, imagine they release BF6 and Titanfall 3 near the same time period as well. Like, that's such an EA thing to do. I would laugh and cry at the same time. Now, it's also impossible to deny that Titanfall 2's community has been growing like crazy over the last few years. Not only does the internet seem to love Titanfall 2 more and more every year, but the Steam charts also reflect a pretty healthy player base that fluctuates pretty heavily upward a few times a year. There are several thousand people playing it at any given time, and a while ago, Respawn started quietly updating their playlists again in response to renewed interest. So they definitely know that there's more demand for Titanfall and less Apex Legends, which surely made its way to the EA higher-ups, right? But with the community growing over the years and EA knowing that they have to diversify their FPS sufferings, the time may be finally upon us. And now that we have legit Respawn insiders starting to talk about it, I may actually have to start huffing the copium on this one. And believe me, I've been really hesitant to believe anything Titanfall 3 up to this point. And it really all depends on who you believe. Do you believe two Respawn leakers, or do you believe Jeff Grubb, who is also a well-known industry insider? Are the stars aligning for Titanfall 3 to finally release just to get overshadowed by Battlefield 6 and the next COD game? Well, it certainly seems like a possibility, but that's going to wrap it up with this video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section. Do you want Titanfall 3 to release? What is your take on the situation? Do you believe the Titanfall 3 leak, or do you believe Jeff Grubb? What is going on with Respawn? Hopefully they get their stuff sorted. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.